You take me home and give me wings to fly. We can be alone in the castle in the sky. We can run away and leave this world behind.
Welcome to Storybook Crochet. I'm Heather, and today I'll guide you through creating Pip the Pumpkin Pie. This charming pattern works up quickly, making it a perfect gift for Thanksgiving or a great addition to your next vendor event. For this project, I am using Bernat blanket yarn in pumpkin spice and Chanel Home Slim in sand. For the whipped cream, I'll be using a worsted weight 4 in white. I'll also be using a US K hook for the main pie and a D hook for the whipped cream. You'll also need two 20mm safety eyes. You'll need some scissors, a yarn needle, a stitch marker, and then you'll need to grab some fiberfill. So let's gather all of our supplies and we'll get started. Alright, to begin our project, we're going to start with the pumpkin spice yarn and our K hook. So we're going to start out by making a magic ring. And in this magic ring, we're going to make 8 single crochets. Alright, once you have those 8 made, just go ahead and pull on that tail to close the opening. Okay, so at this point, I go ahead and grab my stitch marker and I put that in the last stitch of each round. And then we can move on to round number 2. So in round 2, we're just going to put 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So go to that very first stitch there and make 1 single crochet, and then go into the same stitch and make your next single crochet. So you'll put 2 in each stitch around, and at the end of round 2, this will give you a total of 16 single crochets. Alright, moving on to round 3, we're going to start out by making 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to increase in the second stitch. So put your 2 single crochets into that second stitch. And then you're just going to repeat that around. So in the next stitch, you'll make 1 single crochet. And then in the next, you're going to increase. Once you get to the end of round 3, you should have a total of 24 single crochets made. Alright, round 4 is going to be our last increase round, so this time we're going to make 2 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch, and then we'll increase in the third stitch. So same pattern as the round before, just this time we're doing 2 single crochets. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and increase. At the end of round number 4, you're going to have a total of 32 single crochets made. Alright, so moving on to round 5, we're just going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So there are no increases for round 5, so just 1 single crochet in each stitch. So again, you'll have a total of 32 single crochets made. This will also complete the face portion of our pie. So after this, we're going to go ahead and insert the eyes, and then we will be changing to our sand color. Alright, so at this point we're going to go ahead and insert our eyes. So I put mine in between rows 2 and 3. So here's 1, 2, and 3. We're going to insert it right in between the second and third. And then you're going to grab your second one and go straight across and do the same thing. So 1, 2, 3, in between that second and third. Okay, once you have those where you want them, go ahead and snap the backs on. Okay, so at this point, I go ahead and grab a small length of your white and your yarn needle, and we're just going to make the little highlights for the eyes. So I'll turn mine upside down, and then I come up through the back here and at the very base of the eye, at the very bottom. And then I come up the side. I don't go all the way to the top, but just kind of 3/4 of the way there. And come back down to make that first highlight. And just repeat that for the second eye. All right, when I'm done with that, I go ahead and just tie the two ends together in the back. Just make sure you're not pulling so tight that it pulls the piece together. You want that to be able to stay nice and flat. Okay, I tie that about 3 times and then just cut those tails off. And so that is the face done. Okay, so next we're going to want to cut our tail here for our orange and finish that off. It doesn't need to be super long. So we're going to attach our sand color next. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and pull that loop out of those 2 loops from our last single crochet and then reinsert our hook into those 2 loops. We're going to grab our sand color and just pull that through both loops. So that will attach the sand for the next part, and this will be the crust, so the whole back of the pie will be the crust. Okay, so for round number 6, we're going to work in the back loop only. So instead of going under both loops like normal, we're going to insert our hook in between the 2 loops and only go underneath that top loop there, which is called the back loop. Okay, so you're going to make single crochets around, 1 in each stitch around, but only using that back loop. And then I crochet a few stitches around my tails there to make sure that weaves those in as I go. So make your first single crochet, back loop only, and just keep doing that around. So again, at the end of round 6, you will have a total of 32 single crochets made. All right, so that finishes off round 6. You can see the front loops that we left unworked here. We're actually going to be doing our edging for our crust in those front loops, and that's why we worked in the back loop only for that round. All right, so moving on to round number 7, we're going to start out by making 2 single crochets. So 1 single crochet in the first stitch, 1 single crochet in the second stitch. And then we're going to make a decrease. So to make our decreases, I use the front loops only, so you'll just go under that very first loop there. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, and then you'll do the same thing in the next stitch. So insert in that front loop only, yarn over and pull your yarn through. You have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So we turn those 2 stitches into 1. So the pattern for this round is 2 single crochets, decrease. So you'll just repeat that around. So 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and then decrease. Okay, so after this round, you will have a total of 24 single crochets made. All right, moving on to round 8, we're going to do the same type of pattern, but this time we're just going to do 1 single crochet in the first stitch, and then we'll make our decrease. Okay, and you'll just repeat that around, 1 single crochet and then decrease. So at the end of this round, you will have a total of 16 single crochets made. All right, so before we move on to our very last round, we're going to go ahead and grab our fiber fill and stuff our pie here. So you'll want to make sure it's stuffed pretty firmly. We'll be closing it up after the last round. Alright, so our very last round, we are just going to make 8 decreases. So you'll just go into the first stitch and the second stitch and make your first decrease. And then you're just going to repeat that around a total of 8 times. So once you get around to that, I'll show you how to close your opening and finish off this part of the crust. Okay, so we have finished our last round, so we're going to go ahead and snip a little bit longer of a tail here and pull that through your loop to finish that off. Okay, and then just grab your yarn needle . All right, and then I just come through the next stitch there and out through the other. And then you'll just pull that until it kind of cinches together. So in one and out the next. Pull on it a little bit and then just keep doing that all the way around until that opening is closed. Alright, so once that's closed, then I just go ahead and weave it through the back of the crust here a few times, just to secure that tail in there so that doesn't come undone. Alright, once that is finished, you'll just go ahead and snip that tail off, and that is the back part of our crust finished. So next we're going to go ahead and start on the edging of our crust. So you'll grab your K-hook again, and at this time you're going to find one of the back loops, and it doesn't really matter which one you start in. I think I'll start more at the bottom here of the crust, and you're going to go ahead and insert in one of those front loops that were left unworked, and then you're just going to grab your sand color here and pull that through and then chain 1. Okay, so the pattern around to create the crust, and we're going to start in this same stitch as our chain. We're going to make 3 single crochets all in that same stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. This thicker yarn can be a little trickier to work with sometimes. So pull on that tail if you crocheted over that, just to tighten that a little bit. Okay, so after you have your 3 made, you're going to go into the next front loop here, and you're going to make a slip stitch. Okay, and that's the pattern. We just repeat that around. So in the next chain here, or front loop that we have left open, we're going to make our next 3 single crochets. Okay, and then you're going to slip stitch in the next front loop. So just repeat that around, 3 single crochets and then slip stitch, and at the end I will show you how to finish that off. Okay, so at this point you should be all the way around and have made that last slip stitch. So we're going to go ahead and find our first single crochet we made and go ahead and slip stitch to that. And then cut our tail, and we'll just weave that in. Okay, and then I just weave it in through the back here, and then I'll just weave it through the back of the crust a couple times. Alright, and then just snip that tail off. So that is our crust finished, and we are finished with the sand color, so you can put that away. And next we're going to go ahead and make the legs, and then we'll make the arms. I'll show you how to sew those on, and then last we'll make the whipped cream. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and make the legs. I've already made one here, so I'll show you how to make one, then you can pause the video and make the second one. So to start making our legs here, we're going to start with a magic ring, And in this magic ring, we're going to make 6 single crochets. All right, once you have those 6 made, go ahead and close that opening. For round 2, we're going to go ahead and make 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So again, you're going to have a total of 6 single crochets. Right, once you have that round complete, you're going to go ahead and just kind of pop that out so the right side is facing out. And for round 3, you're just going to repeat the same thing. You're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around for a total of 6 single crochets. All right, once you have that last single crochet made, you're just going to slip stitch to that next stitch there to finish it off. And then you're going to want to cut a longer tail so we can use that to sew it on. All right, at this point, I go ahead and just stuff that short tail inside the leg, and then I'll add just a little bit more fiber fill just to continue to fill that out all the way. So go ahead and make your second leg, and then we'll meet back here and make the arms. Okay, so here's what the first arm looks like. It's super simple and easy. You're just going to grab your yarn here, go ahead and make a slip knot. And for the arm, you're just going to chain 3. Okay, after your chain 3, you're going to go into that second chain from your hook and make a single crochet. And then you'll make another single crochet in the last chain there. And that's it. So you'll want to cut a longer tail again for this one. And finish that off. And then you're going to want to weave in this shorter tail before we sew that on. Alright, so at this point we're going to go ahead and sew the legs on. So find the bottom of the eyes where you put the whites at the very bottom. So this is the bottom part of your pie. And we're going to sew it on right behind the edging here of our crust. And I put about 3 stitches between each leg. So if you want to kind of put them on there to show your placement, you're going to have about 3 stitches between each one. So find where you want to sew them on, grab your yarn needle, and then you're just going to come up through 1 stitch on the crust and the same stitch on the leg here. And you're just going to work your way around like that. So grab a stitch on the crust and then come up through the next stitch on the leg. So just work your way around until you have it completely sewn on, and then you'll just weave in your yarn through your leg when you're finished and then sew on the second one. Alright, so moving on to the arms, you're just going to grab your first one and then I sew it on kind of to the side and under the eyes here. And to show you placement, just kind of like this, not directly in front of the legs, but a little bit higher than the legs. And then you'll just go ahead and do the same thing you did with the last one, just grab a stitch on the pie and come up through the arm. And I do this a couple times across that top part of the arm there. And then just weave that in. Alright, so go ahead and attach your second arm there, and then we're going to move on to the whipped topping for the next part. So you'll need your D-hook and your white worsted yarn. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and make our whipped cream topping. So we're going to start out by making a magic ring. And in this magic ring, we're going to make 6 single crochets. Alright, once you have those 6 made, close that opening. For round 2, we're going to increase around. So we'll put our 2 single crochets in each stitch. This will give us a total of 12 single crochets. Okay, so at this point I go ahead and add my stitch marker. For round 3, we're going to work again in the back loop only, and this time we're going to be making half double crochets. So we're going to start out by making 1 half double crochet in the first back loop. So go ahead and yarn over, insert your hook under that back loop only, yarn over and pull your yarn through. You'll have 3 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. So we made 1 half double crochet in that back loop only. So for the next stitch, you're going to make a half double crochet increase. So you're just going to put 2 half double crochets in that next back loop. You just want to make sure you're using the back loop only for this entire round. Okay, so you'll just repeat that around. 1 half double crochet and then a half double crochet increase. At the end of round 3, you will have a total of 18 half double crochets made. Alright, so for round 4, we're going to start by making this wavy part of our whipped cream here. And to do that, we're simply just going to make 4 half double crochets in each stitch around. And you'll be working under both loops this time. So go into your first stitch, and you're going to make 4 half double crochets all in that one stitch. Okay, and that's what that will look like. And then you're just going to repeat that around in every single stitch, 4 half double crochets. This will give you a total of 72 half double crochets by the end of round number 4. Then we're going to finish that off, and then we're going to make one more round of these 4 half double crochets in the front loops that we left unworked from this round. So go ahead and complete round 4, and we'll meet back and I'll show you how to do that part. Alright, so once you have all of those made, you're just going to slip stitch into that next, or that first half double crochet you made of this round. And you're going to want to cut a longer tail, because we'll use this tail to sew it onto the top of our pumpkin. Alright, so now we're going to work in those front loops that we left undone from row number 2, or round number 2. So go ahead and grab your yarn, and you're going to insert your hook into one of the front loops, it doesn't matter which one, and grab your yarn and pull that through, and chain 1. So as you work around, you're going to need to kind of hold down that edging of that last round we just did, because it will get in your way. So we're going to repeat what we did in that last round, and we're just going to make 4 half double crochets in each of those front loops. Okay, and you'll just repeat that around. So 4 half double crochets in each of these 12 front loops that we left unworked, and that's going to give you a total of 48 stitches for this round. So go ahead and finish that off. When you're done making all of your half double crochets, you're going to want to weave in the ends from this round so you just have that long tail left, and then I'll show you how to sew it onto the top of your pumpkin pie. Okay, so the last thing that we need to do is sew our whipped cream on. So you're going to kind of scrunch it up a little bit, because that's what makes it look more wavy there. And you want the bottom kind of flat to sew that on. So the first thing we need to do is weave our tail through, so we can get to the very base, or round 1 here, to sew that on. So just weave that through the bottom there. And then you're going to want to find your placement. And then you'll just do like you were doing before, grab a stitch on the pumpkin pie and then just come up through the base of the whipped cream. And you'll just work your way around a few times to get that sewn on. So once you have it completely sewn on, then you're just going to weave that end in and finish that off. All right, and that is our pumpkin pie made. If you enjoyed this pattern, let me know in the comments below and what you plan on using it for, if you're going to give it as a gift or create it for your next vendor event. As always, thanks for joining me today, and I will see you in the next video.